Hello, mutants. There's an old saying, never meet your heroes. You could also tweak that saying to fit into these modern computer times that we're living in, to maybe say, never read your hero's blog. Comic legend, and one of my personal heroes actually, Frank Miller, wrote a rather extensive little blog about the Occupy Wall Street movement. And I'm going to read it as follows. It's called Anarchy. Everybody's been too damn polite about this nonsense. The Occupy movement, whether displaying itself on Wall Street or in the streets of Oakland, which has, with unspeakable cowardice, embraced it, is anything but an exercise of our blessed First Amendment. Occupy is nothing but a pack of louts, thieves, rapists, and an unruly mob, fed by Wall Street-era nostalgia, putrid false righteousness. These clowns could do nothing but harm America. Occupy is nothing short of a clumsy, poorly expressed attempt at anarchy, to the extent that the movement, some movement, except if the word bowel is attached, is anything more than an ugly fashion statement by a bunch of iPhone, iPad-wielding spoiled brats who should stop getting in the way of working people and find jobs for themselves. This is no popular uprising. This is garbage, and goodness knows they're spewing their garbage, both politically and physically, every which way they can. Wake up, pond scum. America is at war with a ruthless enemy. Maybe, between bouts of self-pity and all these other tasty tidbits of narcissism that you've served up in your sheltered, comfy little worlds, that you've heard terms like Al-Qaeda and Islamicism. And this enemy of mine, not yours apparently, must be getting a dark chuckle, if not outright horse laugh. Horse laugh? Out of your vain, childish, self-destructive spectacle. In the name of decency, go home to your parents, you losers. Go back to your mama's basements and play with your lords of Warcraft. I think he might have that incorrect there. Or better yet, enlist for the real thing. Maybe our military could whip some of you into shape. They may not let you babies keep your iPhones, though. Try to soldier on, schmucks. Frank Miller. Let's see. Hippies, terrorists, rapists. Where to begin, really? How about point number 1, rape? To be fair, I decided to Google Occupy movement rape to see if I could actually find anything regarding this seemingly random charge that is thrown pretty close to the beginning of his blog. And I did find 4 counts, reports. Now here's the thing. You must understand something about the Occupy Wall Street. It is a national, it's now an international movement with tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of people involved now. Spending time 24/7 in public parks and streets for weeks and to months. 4 possible cases. And by the way, the one I found details on that I felt like I could trust was about a Occupy protester who herself was raped. So, is it fair to throw that charge at the whole group, calling them rapists, when the victim themselves was a protester, part of that movement? Because everyone knows when the barbarians used to attack villages and invade, the first thing they would do was rape each other. That's just obvious history. Anybody who knows Frank Miller knows that he is a excellent history buff. And, like he knew about guys with swords for arms. Now, point number 2, get a job. This is the modern equivalent to let them eat cake. And this is when Frank Miller becomes J. Jonah Jameson for Spider-Man, defending Lex Luthor, if you want to keep that comic book method going here. It's not helpful to tell people who have lost their jobs, or maybe even can't get good jobs, because those in power have abused their power, costing them, the people who have done everything possible, all the right things, to lose their jobs anyway, to get laid off. It's not helpful to come to them and go, you know what, you need to get a job. You know what, Bruce Wayne didn't get himself new parents and ignore the crime that was going on in Gotham. He took action. These people are taking action. Point number 3. Why don't you join the army and they can whip you into shape so we can take care of the real problem, Al-Qaeda. This is probably what I think is probably the dumbest part of the blog. This is where we skew into some real weird batshit. You have been paying attention to the news, right? You know we've been destroying Al-Qaeda for a while. Here's the thing. He wants people, these occupiers, to give up, you know, their iPhones and fax machines and hula hoops and join the military and, you know, get whipped into shape. You know, just like he was when he was a young man. Or was it art school? I think it was art school. I'm sure it's the same thing. Well, we have been destroying Al-Qaeda for a while now. Well, the Obama administration and the Bush administration, too, to be fair. And, by the way, there was a CPAC, that's a Republican convention, CPAC report that indicated that Obama has actually killed more terrorists under his watch than Bush did under his 2 terms, including, what was that one guy? Bin Laden? Yeah, that guy we shot in the face. Now, I am not naive. I know Al-Qaeda is trying to rebuild. And I know that we will probably come into problems with terrorism in the future. And it will probably never end, from either foreign or even domestic. Don't forget that Timothy McVeigh, who had a pretty bad grudge against the US of A. We can't let that just freeze us in taking care of what needs to be taken care of. We can't take... How come we can just take our eye off the ball of corruption and power that can cripple us much more than Al-Qaeda ever could? Just because, I don't know, that they might attack? Let me tell you something about Al-Qaeda. They made some huge moves, some powerful statements, some influential big things that influenced us for years. But as the years have gone by, they've become a joke, a shell of their former selves. I'm sure you can relate to this. We can't stop in our actions going against corruption. The corruption in Wall Street, the regulations that have been loosened over the last few decades by both Republican and Democratic administrations, I won't cover that up. Oh, that has done much more damage to this country and the world abroad. What they're doing is making a public statement in Wall Street. It's a symbolic statement. That's what protests usually are. That we are the people. We are the people they should be listening to, not Wall Street. You know, I'm sorry, big businesses, big corporations are not individuals. Freddie Mac has a lot more say in our government than I do. I have 1 vote and no money. They have lots of votes because they have lots of money. Occupy Wall Street and the other Occupy movements simply want the rules to apply. They simply want justice. You're a comic book writer. Aren't you familiar with the quest for justice? What they want is to be ruled by the people. You know, democracy, not anarchy. The fact that you get this so mixed up is just baffling to me. It's almost as if your worldview has become as black and white as your art. And as a fan, as a big fan, been my hero since 1980, you know? And you've been a big influence on me for the way I look to, from what I read to what I write, from my art style that I focus on. Does this affect how I look at your art? Well, it does. Now, I'm not going to just burn a bunch of Frank Miller books just because you disagree with me on a particular topic. I think that's very childish, actually, and very simple-minded. But it does color my appreciation of your work, even the great works. And that's just a fact of getting older. It's almost like when you grow up and you see your parents from another angle, and you realize they're flawed, but you still love them anyway. I have people in my own personal life, friends and family, that I would die for in an instant. And I know they would for me, and they're good people. But if you heard their political views publicly, you would be horrified. So how do you deal with that? Well, you just figure it out. Because here's the thing. Things aren't black and white. Push the button, Lindsay.